Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars video. Today we are talking about Ewan McGregor, who just made a series of fascinating comments at Fan Expo Canada. He might have just secretly teased the next time we're gonna see him in Star Wars, but he also spoke about his opinions on Andor Season 2. So let's begin with that. He's one of those actors who doesn't watch things when they come out. So in the past, in interviews whenever he was asked if he's seen The Mandalorian or some other shows, he's typically responded he'll come back to it. And that was the case back in 2022 after Andor. He was more focused on watching his own show, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. But now, my friends, Ewan says he's caught up. He watched both seasons, some of it with his son, but he finished it alone. And in Toronto, he was asked, well, what did you think? You're a Star Wars icon, you're a legend of the franchise. What did you make of the Star Wars series that everyone is ranting and raving about? The first part of his answer was pretty standard, but the follow-up was the intriguing bit. So he begins with this. I missed it when it came out. If everybody's talking about something, I'm like, yeah, I'll see that later. And then when I watched it, I was like, this is really good. But then after season 2, he had a different response. He said, I got really excited. I was thinking, hang on a minute, I'm in this timeline. I think I could be in season 3. I was super excited, and then I realized they're not making a third season. So anyway, maybe if there was, I could have squeezed in there. If only. There's always a chance that maybe there's a story that's happening at the same time where it kind of crosses over. If Disney is listening, hypothetically, come on Disney. So there's something really hilarious about this I've not seen anyone point out. There isn't a season 3 of Andor, but there is Rogue One, which is kind of like a season 3. It's the direct continuation after the second season tying into A New Hope. And either Ewan didn't see the movie, or he simply forgot, but Obi-Wan is mentioned. There's a direct link between Bail Organa, Leia's message, and Obi-Wan. It's in the scene where Mon Mothma tells Bail that he needs to alert his Jedi friend, and Bail remarks that this said friend, who he knows on Tatooine, served him well in the Clone Wars. Then when he's asked if he has someone he trusts to deliver the message, Bail replies in the affirmative, adding, quote, I trust her with my life, an allusion to Leia and her hologram in A New Hope. So that's the way things link back to Obi-Wan, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Even if hypothetically there were another Rogue One spin-off, or another season of Andor, originally there were going to be 5, I don't think there was ever a logical place for him. Tony Gilroy said plenty of times we're not doing any Skywalkers, any of the main characters from the Skywalker saga, no Vader, no Palpatine, although he did briefly consider him, but certainly no one as prominent as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And even though that was Gilroy's main principle when making the show, there are definitely Star Wars fans who disagree, who think the show would have benefited from a couple of main characters. I don't know, I personally like the way Andor turned out. As Gilroy said, it's about the nobodies in the rebellion who go on to make a big difference. The likes of Wilmon, Kleya, Luthen, the characters who made such a difference in the build-up to the original trilogy but never appeared on screen. It was all about the underdogs, so having the likes of Vader or Palpatine or Obi-Wan would have defeated that purpose. And even the characters who do originate in the Skywalker saga in episodes 1 to 6 had a much more prominent role in this show. A great example is Bail Organa, someone who is essential to the rebellion but didn't feature in the original movie. He died off screen on Alderaan. The only exception, I guess, is Mon Mothma, who is the leader of the Rebel Alliance and appears in Return of the Jedi. But again, she had such a brief amount of screen time, despite being fundamental to the origins of the rebellion. It's why it's been amazing to see such a resurgence of the character in the deleted scenes of Revenge of the Sith, in the Clone Wars, in Rebels, in Rogue One, in some novels, and now in Andor. But no, as much as we love Ewan, going to Obi-Wan, presumably on Tatooine, unless he was on some other mission, like in the first season of his show, it would have felt very out of place. It would have been jarring, but Ewan can always hope. He then teases there might be something in the works for a Kenobi season 2. He doesn't seem to think it's going to be anytime soon, but he's convinced they're going to return to him at some point. He said, quote, I don't know their plans right now, but I'm sure at some point. But, as has been suggested by several reliable sources, he's probably going to appear in Ahsoka season 2. And once again, I know I've spoken about this to death, he's teased it by saying he plans to watch every single episode of the Clone Wars. The reason he gives, quote, that's my homework. So while there are some who are taking this to mean he is merely interested in the animated shows, he's heard Hayden Christensen praise the Clone Wars and Rebels, I think he's going to do a rewatch because he's been instructed to. He uses the word homework, and I think it's related to the Mortis stuff. He's been told to watch the Mortis arc to better understand and prepare for his role as a Force Ghost and in flashbacks in Ahsoka Season 2, which I've heard is the role he is going to play. It's all to do with Mortis. So I think he's been very cheeky in his wording of this, making it seem as though it's just something he's interested in, but I think there might be more to it. So in other Star Wars news, my friends, Ewan McGregor isn't the only one who loved Andor. In fact, Din Djarin himself, Pedro Pascal, who's about to feature in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, says he's a massive fan, and not just a fan of the show generally, but of Kleya Marki. He's a Kleya fan, as indeed I am. And I just want to say, I was part of the OG Kleya fan club. I was praising Kleya from the very first time she appeared in the first season, before anyone else started talking about her, the theory surrounding her origins, and what a journey, to know that she is responsible for the reason the rebels found out about Galen Erso, the Death Star, and the hidden plans. But Pedro says, quote, "Unforgivably late to this party, so just like Ewan, he watched it after everyone else, and he says, the best political thriller series maybe ever, hashtag freedom is a pure idea, and hashtag F fascism." And both Cassian Andor himself, Diego Luna, and Elizabeth Dulal thanked him, and it's great to see solidarity amongst fellow Star Wars actors. Diego Luna is so amazing because he is so immersed in his own character. I always find it a bit disappointing when certain Star Wars actors either are disengaged, or they don't care about their character, or some of them don't even like their performance. I always think that's rather sad. But with the Andor cast, especially Diego, he loves his character, he loves the show. He loves seeing fan reactions. Tony Gilroy's the same. He watches Star Wars YouTubers and reaction videos, and it means that much more when they get involved with the fandom. So unsurprisingly, when it's a fellow actor like Pedro Pascal, of course Diego's going to comment on that, and it is nice to see. Moving on to yet another piece of Star Wars news, Tony Gilroy gave some eyebrow-raising comments in his new interview with The Playlist, notably that he thinks the reason Andor didn't get more Emmy nominations is because not enough people saw the show. He didn't mince his words, he didn't scruff and fluff, he literally just came out with the truth, and he says, if they had, we'd be in play. It's a heavy lift. And he also says he's not interested in the viewing numbers. He says Disney didn't tell him, and he doesn't want to know. He wants his art to stand on its own. The right audience will find it, and he knows how much Andor fans appreciate his work. He then went on to talk about how director-proof Andor really was, saying it was written so that anyone could direct it, and it would have turned out the same way. He even goes as far as to say that on set, he felt uncomfortable and out of place, because all the script work and preparation had been done. He didn't feel as though he was needed on set. And that is the mark of a phenomenal screenwriter and showrunner. Gilroy says it's all about writing a solid blueprint. As you can see, my friends, there are a lot of goodies in this interview. And another one is his rationale for including a Force healer, the closest thing we got to a Jedi in the show. He was inspired by the movie Ghost, saying this, "I love Ghost, the Patrick Swayze movie. Whoopi Goldberg plays a psychic who's basically scamming people. She's forgotten her real gift, given it up, and become a total grifter. Then Swayze's character comes in and activates it again. Suddenly she's terrified her old power is back." And I guess a similar situation played out in Andor. The Force healer was helping the rebellion, but her true powers were activated for the first time in a long time when Bix brings her Cassian. And this ties into another concept Tony Gilroy talks about. He wanted Andor to be the chosen one, the one responsible for the reason the Rebel Alliance stands a chance, one of the catalysts for their eventual victory at Yavin. And it reinforces this idea that Gilroy doesn't really care about the main Skywalker saga. Anakin is the chosen one, but when it comes to Andor and the birth of the Rebel Alliance, it was in many ways Cassian. So with that said, my friends, that wraps up today's Star Wars news update. I hope you had fun, plenty of awesome tidbits. Share your thoughts down below. And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you, always.